Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. If you have not signed in on our guest book, we request that you do sign in. This will be my last meeting to call to order. We will have 3 new directors sworn in tonight. As the outgoing director, I'm asking each one of the new directors to do their best for the municipal utility district as a whole. And if there is any particular petitions or stuff like that, remember your duty is to work with the utility district. I'm going to say that, I'm going to read this. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Directors of Galveston County will hold a regular meeting open to the public on Monday, May 21st at the Municipal Utility District Administration Building within the boundaries of the district. Consider and act upon the following matter. This is a regular meeting. The meeting has been duly called and the meeting was posted in manner prescribed by law, and there is a quorum on hand. Item number 3 on it is the oath of office and the statements of the officer. Sharon will now administer.
Mr. McIntyre didn't need to. They signed them. That's all you have to do. Just
Okay.
get a motion.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the oath of office as presented?
So moved.
So moved. Okay. The gentleman, welcome to the board. You need to reconstruct the officers of the board, because the board of directors are elected by the board of directors. At this particular time, I am leaving the podium. I'm gonna leave it up to y'all to reconstruct it, and whoever is president, best of luck.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
When you make your, I will. Put all the hoop lights on.
I'm not the president, but just for word of knowledge, Bill has been the president for the last 11 years. And as I've learned a little bit, he's done a very excellent job. And so he's really to be appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill.
Before we even have the election, I would like to stand for a word of prayer. We've had 10 people lost their lives this week, and it's very close to home. Father, we thank you for this country we live in. We thank you for just giving us this peace. We pray for the families that have lost their loved ones, Lord, and we just pray that you give us peace and help us to be of service wherever we can. It's all in your Son's name we ask you, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you. Okay.
Well, to the board members, I have a suggestion about how I'd like to see the board laid out and organized, if you don't mind. I'd like to nominate Mr. Matthews for president, Mr. Prince for vice president. I would remain as the secretary treasurer. Mr. Toll can take over where Mr. Henry was as the assistant secretary treasurer, and Mr. Mahler, our director. So that's my thoughts. If anybody has anything different, I'll entertain them.
Have your thoughts?
Okay.
They're mine.
By vote, aye.
All in favor of that? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there you are. Mr. Matthews, thank you. Congratulations.
First order of business then would be to stand and to say the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Back behind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My second thing of business is just to realize that this has been a very interesting and time-consuming campaign. We talked about transparency. The first act I'm going to do is to move Mr. Vice President to my left as they show that we're working this together. The board is your support. Everybody will work together with this board. So.
Gonna need a bigger table.
Lawyer gets over there now.
Yeah, we could do that.
microphone for us. This one? Okay.
You don't need to pull it that close, it's fine at the end of the table, that's, the
Oh,
way I
no.
have it, the way I have it set, it's actually gonna end up over driving it. You
I
can
want to
push-
make sure everybody can hear,
Oh, no, that's,
so can everyone hear?
Can't hear it back here.
You can't hear, Jerry?
no, that's not the same mic, that's just for the recording, that's not set up, there's no
This is the
speaker.
mic?
There's no speakers set up, those are just for the recorder.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So we speak loud.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. We speak loud.
Oh, sure.
What I'd like to do is address the whole mud for just 1 second and just say a few things. The election has been very spirited and informative. We appreciate everyone's involvement and ideas, regardless of who you voted for. We really do. All of us have talked, we really do. The current seated board ran on truth and transparency. This we pledge we will do. We will all get up to speed as quick as possible. We've been doing that for the last couple of weeks. MUD 12 bylaws, MUD 12 does not have any bylaws. Therefore, they've always relied on the Texas Water Code for direction. There's 2 different sections in the water code, so they've relied on the water code for directions, the board directions, and as far as operations. We'll use the same code, but in addition, we'll use the Robert's Rules of Order, which is the same Robert's Rules of Order that's used by the U.S. Congress and by the Texas Legislature. Roberts gives directions as far as responsibilities of members and attendees. We will respect each one's equally, will listen and learn from each other, and look at their look from their perspective, because we really do value what your ideas are. We will not, as a board, allow any disruptive behavior of any kind from any board members or attendees, and this will be dealt with in the prescribed Robert Rules of Order. These rules are currently being used by Congress and by the House in Austin. One more thing, just briefly, before I start. As we are going to be talking about a lot of issues for the next 4 years, I would like to first take a step back, everybody, and just look at the assets that MUD 12 has. First asset, we have personnel. We have Randy, has got over 25 years' experience in the water and wastewater business, and he's got all the certifications that are required. We've got Sharon, that just recently just had her 10th anniversary for the MUD 12. So we have an experienced staff that's working for us, as you see. Number 2, and to me as a business owner, this is critical. We're a cash positive. Means we're not spending more money we're making. We did last month, and we'll talk about it, but we're not spending overall more money we're making. So we're cash positive. That's a very good thing. The plant and the output is currently certified under TCEQ. The accounting team that we've had with Lydia represents about 10 other MUDs, and she has excellent accounting knowledge about how MUDs work, what they can do, what they can't do. The lawyer, which called me a while ago and said he's stuck in Houston because as my wife and I came through Magnolia this afternoon, coming back to town, we had as we call them, a gully washer, and now it's in the middle of Houston. So they're having, and he says, I can't even get off the freeway and I'm stopped. So he said, I'm not sure whether I can make it or not. But he's a lawyer who's been with MUDs for over 30 years, him and his protege. The election has raised many questions that need answering. That was a good point. In this election, we all found out questions, we all said, we need some answers. Excellent, that's why we're here. We got a bond just passed, great. We have a new board with fresh ideas, experience, different experience, and the ways we look at things. and we have an experienced and knowledgeable customer base in Bio Vista, original Bio Vista and Omega Bay. The people here can make this work because they're people that really know what they're doing. Some retired, some aren't, but they still have the expertise to make this thing when they happen. So the board has a lot of assets with which you're dealing as we move forward. So I just wanted to kind of stop for a second and let's all look at that for just a second. All right. The regular meetings, let's move forward to the regular meeting now. Okay, the first thing, we'll need some help here, just from Sharon, to authorize the attorney to file the amended district registration form.
You need to just ask for a motion.
Right. Because the new board has been reconstituted, the attorney has to file some paperwork. So I'm asking for a motion for the attorney to file it. Have a motion, second?
Second.
All say aye? Aye. Okay, that's passed. All right. Approve the resolution amending the authorized signing representatives for Texas State Bank. We had to sign some documents because of the reconstitution of the board for the people who can write checks and sign checks for the transfer of monies back and forth to Texas State Bank. Motion for that.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in
Say aye?
favor?
Aye, okay. All right, number 8. Presentation by Parsons
No, we need to do
We have to do
Engineering.
number
I've already-
7 now, Richard.
What's that?
Number 7.
No, number
Approve
7.
tax pool.
I checked wrong one, sorry. Approve tax pool authorized representative deletion form and the resolution amending authorized representatives. Same thing, it's a legal form. Tax pool is where we put a pool of money into that comes to retirement for the workers. So that's just a form we sign. Motion second? Or say aye? Pass, okay. All right. Okay, now we're going to have in the last couple board meetings ago, the previous board asked Parsons Engineering to prepare a report for the canal. And so we're going to have a report now on the canal. They did a report on the existing status of the canals, and we'll give a report. I don't have my, taking a copy of the report.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members. I'm Randy Palacheck, Vice President with Parsons. And as he mentioned, we were asked to survey the canals, provide a report to you as to the status of the depths of the sediment in the canals, and then make some recommendations. Just as a note, we did the same study and evaluation back in 2002, I believe it was. And then y'all accomplished some dredging in the 2006, 2007 timeframe. And so with all the storms and hurricanes, everything else that we've had in here, the board thought it was a good idea to take a look at it again and to see, because there are some areas where the siltation has occurred. So in March 2nd to the 4th timeframe, we came out, and you may have seen our boat going up and down the canals during that time frame and performing the survey. And then our lead engineer, Jim Potek, have calculated all that stuff, prepared the report, and he'll give an overview for you on what our findings were and then possible recommendations moving forward. So, Jim?
Okay. I don't know how many of you have seen this report. I know all board members have a copy. Whether you've read it or not, I don't know. It's a page turner.
Yes, it is.
But, and I don't know that, has the public been able to see this?
I do not believe that.
Okay, then,
We just got it to,
Not
we
yet,
just
but
got
we
it
have
to.
copies here.
We just got.
Okay, in that case, I'll go over, piece by piece. If you'd all seen it, then I might have skipped through some. But like Randy said, the idea was that, the place, the canals have sedimented in again. That's not news to any of you, I'm sure. So they wanted us to come back out, reassess the canals and see, where the sediment was and what we would have to do to put them back to right. And of course, whatever put them back to right might mean. The first thing to do was to do a depth survey. Like Randy said, you probably saw the boat. They had the long whiskers in the front. It wasn't, we don't just use a fish lasher. There was actually, 2 side scan sonars, some, sonar arrays, a whole bunch of different things. If you could hear those frequencies, it would have been a really loud undertaking. So we went up and down each one of the canals, gathering all that information, also using a side scan sonar so we could see the bulkheads. And good news is your bulkheads are in good shape. This then, we'll start with BioVista. We took all the depth information, and it is tied to RTK GPS, sub-centimeter accuracy GPS. And then down here, we put out, actually it's on Pompano Canal right in here, we put out a tide gauge, so we know where we are on the tide cycle. And then while we're out there, we're also measuring salinity and temperature, because salinity and temperature affect the speed of sound through water, so it affects the sonar measurement. So we have to correct for all of that. So we came back with a bunch of depth maps and then took those and corrected them for because the water level is moving up and down with the tide a little bit. Around here, we're this time of year, we don't have but about a foot of tide movement, but a foot makes a difference. So we corrected all of those things and then mapped them out into a color map of this. You can see here that the reddish colors are from half a foot to roughly 1.5 feet. Up to the deepest spots in the canals are at the back of the BioVista canals here, especially these down here. They're 13 to 15 feet deep. Originally, I believe these were dredged to 12 feet, if I remember right. But
15, yeah.
but there's probably been some compaction and settling up here because there's basically no sediment gets up here, which is a good thing if you live on this one. These things are deep, but the problem, of course, is that you can't get out because the entrance canals are not deep. What happens here is that, this is the only connection here and under the railroad bridge back to West Bay where the tide signal's coming from. So as the Gulf rises, you get that prismatic signal that moves this way, and it comes through here first, and then starts up these canals here first. So it rises like this, and then where it first hits a shallow water or a constriction, the water slows down a little bit and starts dumping the sediment that it's carrying. So when it first starts slowing down is when you start seeing the most deposition. That's why the mouth of the canals, that's where the sediment falls out. And then by the time the signal moves back here, there's really not that much water moving up here because you're just coming up a foot. So the amount of water coming in and out of this canal is the surface of that canal times 1 foot. Back here, the water is basically just going up and down like a bathtub. It's not actually moving much water in and out, which is why these areas back here are not getting sediment being transported in. So the bottom, over time, since there's a lot of carbon in the sediment, it degrades and it compacts. And this is actually deeper than it was dredged to start with. Same thing back along these, and you notice that this effect, as you move closer to the tide, to where the tide's coming through, it gets less and less because more water is moving through here and dropping out sediment. You see the same thing. I'm sorry, we messed up, and
I forgot the other.
we didn't bring the big one for Omega Bay, but it's same color scheme, but as probably surprises nobody from Omega Bay, there's not much difference. It's all shallow. And part of that is because these canals are short, so you don't get this much of that effect, that stagnant water effect back here. And then also, it has, for the area of canal, it has a pretty big connection. So a lot of sediment comes in here. And a lot of this is very fine sediment. So, after that, then we talking with the board, came up with 3 alternatives. Yes, ma'am.
What are the depths of the canals in Omega Bay?
They're 3 to 5 feet deep.
What are the depths down here where it's blood red?
well, in Bio Vista?
Yes.
Bio Vista there, this canal here is 3 to 4 feet deep, all the way to 15 feet deep. But then Bio Vista, when it was originally built, was dredged to 12 feet. Omega Bay, I believe, when it was originally built, was only dredged to 6 feet. So they were never that deep there to start with. But then
That's you're talking about, that's at mean
yes,
sea level and not low tide or anything. So
yes, all the depths we're talking about are from mean sea level. So it's the average of where the water is over time. That makes sense?
So you're stating Omega Bay was never dredged to 12 foot, only to 6 foot?
Yeah, it was only dredged 6 feet when it was built, as I understand it, is the records that we've seen, and then that's what other people have told us.
Yeah, I was wondering why that, they have such a problem over there. I'm trying to understand that.
Part of it's because it's not just sediment coming this way.
Right.
As this fills up, it goes all the way back up Highland Bayou, and it's very shallow up there. And there's also a lot of production up there. It's a very productive estuary up there, so you get a lot of
there's Highland Bayou.
the Highland Bayou that comes all the way. It goes well up there. There's a lot of Spartina beds. So what's happening is there's a lot of carbon being fixed up there, and then the water pushes in. As it comes back out, it flushes and pulls that stuff out this way. Deposits it in that big lake out there in front of you, and when the water comes back up, it pushes it into your canals.
So by the entrance of Omega Bay, how deep is it?
By the entrance right here,
Yes.
right out here, it's quite shallow until you get right down in front of the, what's the guy's name that has the boat launch? Louis. It gets about 6 feet deep, 6, 7 feet deep right there. But right in front of the entrance, it's 2 or 3 feet deep.
Could the circulation canals, if those were open, would that help that situation at all? Because there are circulation canals, they're just full, I mean, they're not, they're plugged up.
It would help some. Or you say circulation, are there culverts underneath these roads? Yes, that's what that's for, and unfortunately, because of the way it's built, they don't help that much. They would help more in Bio Vista, because Bio Vista, the entrance is at an angle to where the tide is coming in, so it actually pushes water in there like that. So if water could move from here to here, it would push water to start with, push it that way, and as it's coming out, it would pull it back the other way. The problem with this one is that the tidal signal is coming in this way, and the entrance is at 90 degrees. So it pushes it straight in, pushes it straight back out. So yes, you get some, it gets to this canal before it gets to that canal. So it does make water circulate back here. But if you really wanted both of these to circulate well, you would hook those same things, those culverts just like that, and then bring a pipeline from here and from here out into this part of West Bay, where you have very different tidal signals, which would make water move through the thing. But, you could fix it that way, but could you afford it? Probably not. Yes, sir.
So does your survey include a dredging proposal?
Yes.
From the entrance of Omega Bay to, number 6 bridge, Highway 6 bridge?
No.
Why not?
Well, because some of that doesn't belong to you. We could do that, but you'd have to have a whole nother set of permits. This is all waters of the state. And to go out and dredge their waters, we'd have another set of permits. You could do that, but it also would increase the cost quite a bit. Also, there's 6 feet of water right here. So,
Only right in front of Louis, right at their fishing
right, so
pier.
the proposal is to bring the dredge out here till you get into about 4 feet of water.
It's 2 and 2.5 all the way from that point to the entrance.
Right, and the proposal, there's another, this, on one of them, we talk about just doing that's not it, just doing the entrances. Because the entrances are particularly graded up. You can see I hope you can see. Up at the top there, there's the entrance to Omega Bay. We're talking about dredging it all the way out to here to get into that channel that Louis is on, so that you do get more water pushing back through there.
That projection point on fluid
Yes.
goes from 2.5 to 4 foot within.
Yeah, well. So, these are the existing depths out there, so, and what I was saying, so the three things we're looking at is to dredge everything to at least 6 feet, which would mean dredging it, the parts of these, the ends of these canals where they're less than 6 feet, it would mean dredging everything in Omega Bay. And also dredging the entrance canal and these entrances to 6 feet. The next proposal was the same thing, except dredging the entrances to 8 feet. The idea there is it gives you a little bit more volume to store sediment, because this sediment's gonna come back. To store sediments, to prevent this from,
Dredging is free.
to make it take longer to happen again. And since you've already got the dredge out there, it doesn't really cost that much to go ahead and dredge this to 8 feet. And then the last proposal was, you know, the cheapest dredging proposal. There's always the do nothing option. And that's just to go and dredge the entrance canals to get them deep enough. I think 6 feet is what we said. Dredge all the entrance canals to 6 feet so that you can get in. That really doesn't do Omega Bay a whole lot of good. Yes, ma'am?
I heard the original Bio Vista is worse than Omega Bay. I don't see you talking about original Bio Vista. Are they in the top part?
Over here?
Yeah, the old Bio Vista, or whatever you wanna call it.
The original
Yeah,
line,
those-
this is the first two roads on your left.
Oh.
Right there.
Those
So-
these
Right
here?
there, yeah.
That you're
Yeah, the first two
including them.
canals.
We didn't
Yeah, you're right.
survey this canals.
You did not survey
No.
original Bay Vista?
Yeah.
I thought that was part of it.
If they're right in here, yes.
You mean these are across the bayou? Or these? Oh, we surveyed
Yeah, those are all surveyed.
And you see that they're
I was gonna say,
I thought you meant these guys over here on the other side. That's not part of Bayou Vista. But, yeah, we surveyed these, and they're sedimented in.
That one was surveyed as well then?
Yes.
And so they're included
Oh, yes.
in this as
Oh,
well?
yes.
Because like I said, I'm from Omega Bay, but I heard they were worse than us. I don't know if that's possible, but they can't even get out.
They're,
the original Bay Vista is,
yeah, it's really,
my
yes, they're,
understanding.
this one here is,
Yeah, real bad.
So you're including their dredging with Bio Vista then, correct?
yes, that's in the Bayou Vista part.
Okay. What was that second proposal again? Could you go over the second proposal one more time?
Okay, the second proposal, the first proposal was to, actually, it would be easier to do this. And this. It's actually easier to see on this one.
Can you close those blinds behind you?
Good idea. This is the dredging proposal for Omega Bay. What we, first off, the dredge,
Gotta be this one over here.
the dredge corridor is 40 feet wide. So just dredging down the center part, what will happen is that the area outside that, up against your bulkheads, will slough down. And then as they dig that out, part of that will be taken out as well. But we don't want them to dredge right up to your bulkhead, because that will erode your bulkhead. So we just dredge a strike, a 40-foot strike, right down the middle. And the colors here are how much sediment has to be taken out. The blue is about between 6 inches and a foot, up to the red, which there's only some red right over here. You know, this is the only one that's really red. These are 4.5 feet, 4.5 feet needs to be taken out of here to get them down to 6 feet. Because some of these, this canal here in places is only 2 feet deep. This one too. So what you see, you know, since the green is the very little, the red is the whole lot, it shows you that most of the sediment is in the openings in the first few canals. And they do get deeper as you go back, but since it only started at 6 feet, even if it's only got a foot or two of sediment, and it's still pretty shallow back there. Yes, sir.
You were talking about doing 8-foot entrances on one of your proposals. Does that include 8-foot at the entrance of Omega Bay as well?
Yes,
Okay.
that's number two. That's what she was asking about. This is dredging all of this to 6 feet is option
Down
one.
the middle or down each canal?
Well, all these cargoes, right down the middle, down each canal. So all of that, this is for Omega Bay, all of that dredged.
Would it be on the end canals also? Or
On the
just
what?
On the end canals at the north side towards the highway?
Oh, these here?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, but it's a little hard to show that on the computer. And also, these don't, when we're doing the estimate, these don't really add much to it. They're within the error band. But yeah, some of the, they would have to dredge partway down each one of those entrance canals a little bit too. Although even if they didn't, dredging down in here would make those entrance canals slough in, so they'll get deeper too. But they will be dredging in there.
Some of the most shallowest part in Omega Bay. There's holes
Okay.
you can't even throw it.
Yes, but we can dredge in here some, but remember, these things are narrower, so we can only dredge a fairly narrow stripe in there without getting too close to your bulkheads. Because you don't want us to pull the sediment out from the bottom of your bulkhead, because it'll tow out your bulkhead.
They're 45 feet wide.
So yeah, we'll be dredging 40 feet wide through here, and probably 20 foot through each one of those. Or that, and that's option
How much?
one.
I'm sorry, somebody was talking. I can't hear you.
Oh, so this will be, say, 40 feet wide, and there'll probably be a 20-foot wide swath or so down each one of these end canals. And now that's option one, dredge all that to 6 feet. Option two, same thing over here, option two is to dredge everything to 6 feet and dredge the entrance to 8 feet. Same thing over here, dredge all of these to 6 feet and dredge the entrances to 8 feet, which gives you a little bit more volume for the future.
How far, when you talk about the entrance thing, how far in are you talking about doing that?
150 feet or so. If you look at the original,
So in Omega Bay, that would put it about to the second canal?
in Omega Bay, all we're talking about is dredging this part into about there.
That would be the big.
Yeah, because, we're already taking 4 feet out of these. And all of the, going to 8 feet,
You can kind of see it on here, so you can see the short
yeah,
distances.
unfortunately, they're yellow
Yeah.
and don't show very well. But this is all we're dredging to 8 feet. So actually, it's just this part.
Okay, and in the canals, you're going back down to another 4 feet then?
6 foot.
Yeah, in option two, all of this would be 6 feet deep. This would be 8 feet deep. And of course, right there would be a transition. And the 8 feet, all that does is gives you a place to put a little bit more sediment. And it doesn't cost that much to pull it out because the dredge is already out there. And then option three would be the cheapest option, which would be only dredge the entrances to 8 feet. Now, that helps Bio Vista. That didn't do a thing for Omega Bay. It's 8 feet, and all of a sudden right here it's 3 feet deep. You don't want that.
Well, why can't you just do the entrances for Bada Vista that way, but Omega Bay go ahead and do all of it? Why didn't you, is there a proposal for that?
No,
So
but
it's
this
just-
is,
It's just 3 alternatives we looked at. You can
Yeah.
have a million different alternatives, whatever.
the reason we put these alternatives together is to find out how much dirt we're removing. We're not the ones going to contract to have this done, and if you decide that you want to do the whole thing to 8 feet, that's fine. So, but it gives you some idea how much sediment's in here, how much you'd have to add. And then, of course, if you come up with something else, you want to do something in Bio Vista, and you want to do something different here, then, it doesn't take us long to figure out how much more dirt that is. Yes?
I know someone asked, on Omega Bay, each one of those streets on the north side, like Gwen said, have those little culverts that are all filled in. And supposedly, it was supposed to, when it drain out into the marsh. The only one that's open is the one on the marsh end. And it does
I was aware, or someone had told me, that there were culverts out here. I wasn't actually aware, because when we were out there, we didn't see them.
Well, no, they're covered.
I'm pretty sure they're under the sediment.
Yes,
So yeah, if we dug this out, it would, yeah, certainly we need to blow those culverts out.
because each one of the streets has a culvert that connects those Ts.
Yeah. Bio Vista wishes they had that.
Oh, they don't have anything like that?
No.
Oh,
These things, that's the reason these are so deep on this end, is they're dead ended.
oh.
We do have it in the bottom corner. We have two pipes that are 2 foot, which you haven't mentioned.
If-
If you look at the
Very
Bible
bottom
map,
corner here.
you go to straight down.
Here?
Right
Yes.
there.
Okay.
10 feet past that, actually.
And it drains into that marsh?
It goes into this, there's a canal, no, not a canal, a kind of a
Underneath
ditch
the railroad
on the inside of the
tracks.
railroad here that goes into that.
It's not on the other
Yeah,
side.
I've seen these pipes over here. I didn't, you know,
It's done 8 years ago, maybe?
Does that include dredging on the other side of those pipes? Because that's all mud property along
Yeah.
there too, as I understand.
this is here along the railroad.
It's not the
Right
railroad
there.
property.
Oh, you mean this
Yeah,
entrance,
right
this
here.
long entrance canal?
The
It
lateral.
include-
On the other end,
On the other end of that canal,
where you pointed.
into the marsh,
There,
right there.
that's Med 12.
We're only, the,
It's ridiculous.
the dredging only includes here. It doesn't go on the other side, you know, where the, there's the railroad track, there's a kind of a ditch that runs along here. It doesn't include anything in there. I mean, we could, but we didn't, because we didn't know that was your property. And also, we can't get the boat in there.
You're confusing the railroad with the other berm that's there. Here, I'll just show you in a satellite photo. Because I don't think you guys picked up on it. Right there, this is where you came down and made the turn on what we call the lateral. See? And right there, there's two pipes that are about 2 foot diameter.
Yeah, I know where they are.
And that's about 10 foot, and then right there, Mud owns this here, all the way to here, and that part there needs to be dredged too, because then you've got the flow coming in from two places, one at the railroad bridge, and then the other through those two pipes.
That would help, I mean, but it wouldn't help a whole lot. It would help some, and if they're there, it's worth doing.
Well,
It's already got the pipes.
Yeah, it keeps it from dead fish kills.
But where those two pipes need to be is up here into this marsh. And then there needs to be a pipe under each one of the roads here. And then it wouldn't build up into here like, well, it'd still build up in here because of the physics are still the same, but it would take a lot longer because you'd have more water moving through, exporting sediment. But that's gonna be a pretty expensive thing to do. Yeah, since you've got these all hooked up here, yeah, we need to open this back up, because that will help some. It would be better if this were hooked up down here to the West Bay, but there again, well, considering that that's a highway access, that's probably impossible, but that would be the ultimate thing.
On the Omega Bay one, how far can you go out into the marsh with that upper pipe? You have the left-hand corner they're talking about.
Into this one up down here,
No, up on top.
up here.
Yeah, yeah, right there in
That
the
goes
marsh.
into the marsh, so how far can you dredge that and open that up into the marsh?
Well, we didn't propose to dredge a channel here, we probably should. If, you know, open those pipes up and open all these pipes up and dredge a channel out to here.
Right.
Because the
That's how
deep,
you get your water flow.
yeah, the deeper the water, the more flow you'll get through it. Yeah, we missed that.
But you
Thank
can
you.
do that.
We can do that. Yes, sir.
Does the cross-section of your dredging proposal go underneath the boathouses? And if so, are you going to try to use a suction arteries underneath the boathouses?
We're proposing to use a hydraulic cutter head dredge, which is a rototiller with a wet vac on it, basically. And one of the reasons that we're proposing only 40 feet wide is to stay away from not to dredge up under your bulkheads, or up under your docks.
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna slough off anyways, right?
Yeah, because once we, say it's, you know, tilted like that, once we dredge this out, that's an unsustainable slope. So over a while, that dirt is going to slough down into the bottom. And some of it is gonna happen pretty quick, and they're gonna pick it up with the dredge on the way out. So it will remove some of the dirt underneath your dock up to your bulkhead. Over time, it'll remove a little more because some of it's gonna slough out into the bottom. but we're not dredging
I
up
live
there.
in Lake Van, I live at the furthest extent of the addition, so I'm in the most shallowest part of the water. My concern for my boathouse is if the profile allows for leaching of water, of mud, silt to disappear, I'm not so sure that I've got a really deep sunken post for my boathouse in the very end.
You must be the guy that lives right back here?
And a little bit,
Yeah.
the very corner there.
Yeah, you can almost walk in your canal.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir?
How much silt do we have compared to how much place do we have to put it?
We have looked for disposal sites. That's probably I think we have a place to put everything in this proposal. Now, we're not sure of that, but I think so,
Yes.
because we haven't actually we haven't actually gone and negotiated. Actually, Omega Bay has a disposal site from your last dredging thing, and it's permitted. So does Bio Vista. But the only thing is the Bio Vista site, part of that is owned by a landowner, and we would have to get his permission again. And
Marsh?
right now, we knew what capacity is, but what we don't know is how much sediment you guys dredged out in 2007. So we need to figure that out so we know how much capacity is left in these permitted sites. The other option is to go, to permit another site or some more area, or to find a commercial place to place it, although that's unlikely to be,
So based on the best information we have, what was permitted before, estimated on what was dredged before, you've got enough for the alternative 2 proposal, which is 8 feet at all the entrances and 6 feet in all the canals.
and then there would be extra sediment if we took this in and did these, but it's within the air band.
Okay, so you, with this, device that you colloquially describe as a wetback sort of thing, you can go, 500, 1,000 feet to available disposal sites.
Yes.
And we can do that, we've got room enough to do that. This time, in 7 to 10 years, it's gonna get real expensive, because we're out of disposal sites.
Yeah.
Would that be your?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you do when you don't have a local disposal site? Put it on a barge?
The other options are open water disposal. Yeah, you can put it on a barge, take it out to sea, but right now, I doubt if you can get that permitted. 20 years from now, we'll see.
There's some other potential beneficial use sites coming up available, hopefully in that time frame, where the state has been working on.
Yeah, they're working one over here in this bay.
So it's not all-
It's pretty far from you, but
But it's further than you could send sediment via ordinary means.
be an ordinary means. This thing, it's a barge that has a cutter head on it, and it has a pump, and it can pump sediment about 1,000 feet. If you want to go farther than that, then it pumps the sediment to another pump that picks up and pumps it another 1,000 feet.
Yeah, so it's just more costly to put another pump
You
every
can-
1,000 feet to get there.
But just incrementally,
Yes.
not hugely, okay.
Yeah.
And so it all depends on the dredge you're using to start with, how big the pump is on the dredge that you start with versus, how big a dredge you can get into the canals and be able to turn around without hitting docks and everything else. So-
Because we're suggesting a 6 to 10 inch cutter head hydraulic dredge. They make them much bigger, and of course they have bigger pumps and can pump farther. But if you put one of these in here, it's gonna suck your docks up too. So,
Yeah, they will.
yes, sir.
For this type of work, what's customary or common found in the industry as far as insurance and for how long of term of insurance, i.e. if the bulkheads start falling out or the boathouses start having column supports or?
That's a function of the contract you would have with the dredge guy. And generally they carry
at least $1 million and are supposed to. And that's kind of customary in most contracts, to carry about $1 million in liability insurance in case that happens.
Right, so if you want a longer warranty, the board can choose to put that in the contract, and then you're gonna pay for it, you know, in the contract price. Cause he's gonna put that on, you know, he's gonna put that extra insurance and extra risk on the job. So, it's kind of a function that the board and everyone can decide what you want, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, a year, you know, whatever you want for.
I don't know how many of these bulkheads have been rebuilt over the past 16 years since we did the last survey. But considering they're almost all timber bulkheads, they're holding up remarkably well.
What's your thoughts on putting the spoils back into the deeper canals in Bayou Vista?
Okay, well, might as well. But there was one more question.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
It's not a question, but just some food for thought. On the other side of Hoodie's Bay Camp coming out of Omega Bay, if you go straight west, instead of going back under the bridge, sticks, that sand pit in there is owned privately by Carl Davis. And he's interested in a lot of that silt that you suck out. He's trying to reclaim some land back.
That's good information.
So I just.
There you go.
That's just.
Who was that?
No, he's, and I told Mike, I would throw.
Call
it
them
out
up,
there.
tell them, can we make you a deal?
Carl Davis, he owns a liquor store.
How far back up here though? Because,
It's right around the corner.
oh, okay, because if you have to pump it, you know,
Yeah.
a couple of miles, it gets pretty expensive.
Instead of the,
Yeah, oh,
yeah.
this way.
Yeah, that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about, on a good tide, it's just 2 foot back in there. You gotta be getting it to get back in.
Yeah, I noticed that there's someone back here that looks like they're reclaiming something, some area. Would be right about over here.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
trying to, but it's gonna take a million dump truck loads. That's why he said he's interested in,
So does he have a core permit to do that?
nobody said he'd get one.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all tied to what the Corps will let you do, basically, you know, so
He
if
owns the
he's,
sand pit privately.
But if,
but it's state waters of some sort, and the bay bottoms are all owned by the GLO, so you gotta get a GLO permit, Texas General Land Office permit, the Corps, Parks and Wildlife, TCEQ, you gotta get all those permits to allow you to place it kind of in open water in order to reclaim that may have gone down because
He
of
wants it
subsidence
on land.
or.
He doesn't want to put it in water.
Okay,
He wanted to put it on his land.
so if it's all upland, then
oh,
that's,
Upland, yeah.
yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
He was trying to do a dump truck loads of dirt here and there. They just-
So if it's all in upland, then you just gotta worry about the surface water coming back in and the supernatant runoff with silt fences and everything else, just.
Right.
Yeah, we've
Just
also
stop.
got an estuary down here at that U in your lower right section. We'd like to fill that in and claim that land back there and bury the mosquitoes.
And about upland disposal,
Is estuary.
which upland disposal kind of is a good, we'll get back to yours in a minute, but this is a good opportunity to talk about. We took a composite sample of the sediment when we basically mixed together sediment we took in several places, one from Bayou Vista and one from Omega Bay, and had them analyzed. And everything's fine except arsenic,
Arsenic was a little bit elevated.
which is odd. It wasn't last time, 16 years ago.
It was a lot lower last time.
So since it's so much higher, that means either somebody up here in the watershed was using arsenic as a defoliant, or perhaps our sample got contaminated.
But it was, yeah, I doubt that. So it's,
Could it have been
I
from
mean, arsenic
hurricane?
is commonly applied to roadsides and to railroad.
If you were in the Brazos
Yeah,
Basin, it wouldn't be
fertilizer.
surprising at all because they grew a lot of
Not
cotton.
in fertilizer.
And they used to use arsenic to defoliate the
I
cotton.
don't think they do that much
So
anymore.
the Brazos
I wonder
sediments
if the
are all full
hurricane
of
brought
it.
it in.
I don't know, yeah, 'cause
But anyway, so
Remember
on
reading
that, we just kind of
about
recommend maybe taking a few more samples and, you know, prior to dredging, when you're putting your dredging plan together, submitting permits to the Corps or whatever, just grab a couple of other samples and just make sure that it was a oddity, you know,
And also, it's just barely over the limit.
right.
Well, it's not like, a hazard for fish or crabbing.
Not really.
Swimming or.
No,
You would have you'd have a little bit of trouble disposing of it, especially if you're gonna dispose of it, upland. But, it wouldn't, you could get around it.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to just take more samples and see what the real number is and if it's was just a weird hot spot or what, but.
How many samples did you pull?
Was there a sample difference?
We did 2 composite samples.
Between the two properties?
Yes,
I can tell you that Omega Bay was 9.35 milligrams per kilogram or parts per million of arsenic, and Bayou Vista was 10.1, and those were each a 5-part composite that were put together. And the state benchmark level for sediments is 8.2. So it's just a little bit above, nothing to be
And it's a-
harmful, nothing to be harmful, nothing to be afraid of or anything, but.
And that's a benchmark level too. That's not like a LD50 that's
Right,
equal
that's
to
a
half
low-
the population, but not like.
That's a low conservative number. So you probably just want to grab a couple more samples around just to see what it is.
And if we were to, say, string the floating pipeline over here and dispose of it upland, the operator would have to take grab samples every so many cubic yards anyway. So they have to have an analysis of what they're putting on there. So you'd end up getting it anyway. Your hand went up first.
So, from, you're familiar with it now, do you have, increase of the silt rate, 1 inch a year, is it 1 inch every decade? Or have an idea on that?
I would tell you that, but I don't know how much. I know you guys dredged in 2007, but we could never find out how much. So if you look at the 2002 sediment levels and the 2018 sediment levels, they're not that different.
Yeah, well, I
So
understand
whatever you
they
took
tried
out
to
came
answer
back.
that when it dredged, and then they went to 6 foot, which I think is what our is proposing. Since 7, it's now about 2.5 foot.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it, a couple inches a year. However, when I say that, the first two, the top stuff is it deposits and you measure it. As it ages, some of it decays and it compacts. So there's a difference between measuring over a short period of time and over a long period of time. Over a long period of time, I would guess it's about 1 inch a year or something like that. Yes, sir.
Okay, if you can offer an assessment of the quality of our bulkheads, I'm guessing that you, because with your side scan,
Sonar.
Can you also offer an assessment of how much debris we have in the canals? Did we get a good job